Today we're doing a tutorial for Seitz Concerto No. 5, Movement 1. Welcome back. Welcome to the studio. My name is Cassie. I'm a professional violist and teaching artist. So today we're going to do a tutorial on the Seitz Concerto in Book for Suzuki. This whole video is going to be dedicated to the tutorial, and we'll have a slow and a fast playthrough next week. So the first spot I want to look at is the triplets. Now, we've had triplets before. If you think back to the Witches Dance in Book 2, we know what triplets are. It's just a division of 3 of the beat as opposed to 2 like eighth notes would be. So we're going to practice that on the string, and eventually it's going to be off the string spiccato. So let's go to measure 30, and I want us to practice this tempo nice and slow, middle of the bow. So we're just going to do those two measures because then we have some slurs, and that's another issue that we'll deal with in a second. So let's go to playing position. Set your bow right in the middle, and we were focusing on using very short bow strokes. Ready, set, go. Once that feels comfortable, you can speed the tempo up, so we're going to do that. And as we get faster, if your bow wants to come off the string, you're just going to let it come off the string. We're not going to fight that. So again, we're going to be right in the middle of the bow, and this is our new faster tempo. So it's almost double what we were just doing. Bow in the middle, 1, 2, 3, ready, set, go. Now eventually, like I mentioned, we're going to be doing the spiccato bow stroke, which is a bouncing bow stroke. So we're going to do some preparatory steps to practice that first. So find your bow back in the middle, and this is going to be near our balance point of our bow. And I want us to just do a very quick down, up. And on the up bow, we're going to release into the air. So it'll look like this. Then I'm going to set my bow for the down again. Set. Set. Let's do 2 of those in a row. So down, up, and a release into the air. Set. 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 Now you might feel like your bow wants to take flight, and that's okay. We want that to feel almost like a basketball bouncing. There's going to be a little bit of bounce to the bow. So I'm going to go back to playing position, and instead of starting on the string this time, I'm going to drop from about an inch or so above the string. So that will look like this. So it's a gentle bounce. And again, I'm not dropping into the string, I'm dropping across the string. So as I drop, I'm thinking horizontally. Let's try 3 of those in a row. Drop across. Now the goal, obviously, we don't want to start our bow stroke from in the air. The goal is going to be to get that stroke to happen when we start on the string. So we're going to try that. We're going to go on the string, and if your bow wants to come off, you're just going to let it this time. So we're going to try 3 of those, or down, up, down, up, down, up. So set your bow. 1, 2, ready, go. Set your bow, ready, go. Last time, set, go. So again, that first stroke will be on the string, and then we're going to attempt to have the bow come off the string after that. Some common mistakes I see are that students drop into, and they expect the bow to bounce because they're dropping into the string, but we want to drop across. So I'm always thinking horizontally across the string as I do that stroke. The other thing students do is they try to make the bow bounce. Really, if our arm is relaxed and our fingers are relaxed and our bow hold is relaxed, the bow should just bounce on its own. So if you find yourself trying to manipulate the bow by tossing it at the string and trying to make it bounce, that's not what we're going for. We want the bow to do all of the work for us. So again, if we set on the string and everything is nice and loose in our bow hold and bow arm, the bow should just bounce naturally. If you are on Patreon, I'm going to post some extra videos there about how to find your balance point for your bow and how to do some extra spiccato exercises. So if that's of interest to you, check that out. There's a link in the description. Now that we're a little bit more comfortable with that spiccato bow stroke, I'm going to go to the next measure where we still have triplets, but now we've added the new dimension of slurring. So first and always, we're going to make it simple, set our bow on the string, and do it very slowly. That tempo. Ready, set, go. Fast, up bow. Fast, 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 fast. You'll notice that my up bows are slightly released from the string, so I'm always setting on the down bow, and then I'm doing a faster bow with a slight lift. So that was a lot, but we're maybe going to be a millimeter or two above where the string is. Let's try it a little bit faster with that in mind. Set your bow. 1, 2, 3, ready, set, go. Lift, set, lift, set. Now if you're having trouble with that bow stroke, we can also practice without the fingers, because trying to coordinate the fingers in the bow can be a little bit tricky. So I'm going to keep my hand on the top of the instrument. I'm just going to practice the open strings that I would play if my fingers were there. So I'll demonstrate. So if my fingers were on the strings, it would make the correct notes, but I'm just doing the open strings right now. So let's try that together. 1, 2, 3, ready, set, go. It can be really helpful to try to coordinate your bow first and then add your fingers, or even just do your fingers by themselves. 3, 0, 0, 2, 0, 0, 3, 0, 0, 1, 3, 3 without the bow. So once those feel comfortable separate, you can combine them together, and hopefully that passage will just be a little bit easier to practice. My last practice tip for this particular set of measures would be to stop after each beat. So I'm going to do 3 notes and stop. Set everything, and then begin once everything has been set. Set, 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 set. When that gets comfortable, you can try 2 beats at a time. So I'll do 6 notes and stop. Set. 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 Our goal always when we practice is to make it as simple as possible and then add in complexity as we go. The next group of measures I want to go over is in measure 49. We have a grace note on the very first note, so that's that tiny note with the slash mark through it. We call it a grace note. And usually it happens either before the beat or on the beat. This one's going to happen before the beat. So if I play the 2 notes, the 2 open Ds before that, it's 1, 2, 3, 1. So I'm stealing a little bit of beat 4 from the measure before to play that grace note. I'll demonstrate that one more time. 1, 2, 3, 1. And this happens 3 times, so we're always going to be playing that grace note a little bit before the beat. So let's try that. We're starting the 2 notes before where the first grace note is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Measure 52, we have another set of triplets that are slur up. So the same thing that we did before, where we can practice it 1 beat at a time, or combining 2 beats at a time, or just the bow or just the left hand, the same thing can be applied to this measure. The tricky thing about 52 is that not only do we have a measure of slurred triplets, but then we've got a measure of separate triplets, and then we've got a measure of triplets that are slurred on the offbeat. So we're going to practice this passage a little bit slow. I'm starting in 52, and this is our tempo. And for right now, everything will be on the string, short in the middle. Set your high 3, ready, set, go. Short. So obviously we practice that slowly, and that's always a useful technique. I want to talk about measure 54 and a different way to practice this. So we have some really weird slurs here, but I want us to practice it with separate bows. So that's technique number 1. Let's try that. Set your high 3. Ready, set, go. So hopefully that's a little bit easier now that we've taken the slurs out of that. The other thing that we can do is practice it as if it was just on open strings. So I'm going to pretend, or I'm going to do my fingers on the top of the instrument. So 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 0, 2, 0, 2, 4. This helps me coordinate all of those string crossings. Some of them are underneath the slur, some of them start the slur, some of them have 2 notes on one string and 1 on the other. It's just a lot of stuff for our bow to deal with there. So let's try that again. We're just going to be playing on the open strings that we would be playing on if our fingers were there, and I like to keep track with my fingers on the top of the instrument. Ready, set, go. 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 0, 2, 0, 2, 4. Once that feels comfortable, you can speed it up. 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 0, 2, 0, 2, 4. And if that feels comfortable, you can combine them together. Remember, that first note has to bring us a little bit towards the upper half of the bow. If I get stuck here, I kind of can't do the rest of that measure. So we want to begin that measure in the middle to the upper half. We're ready, set, go. On the next page, the Tranquilo e Dolce, we're going to work on using a really long bow with our arms sunk into the string. So even though this is piano, that doesn't mean we want to make a weak sound. Sure, that's quiet, but there's not a lot of core to the sound. So some ways that we can achieve piano, instead of having flat bow hair, I'm going to tilt the stick slightly away from me so that less hair is on the string. And I'm not going to be right in the middle of the Chrysler Highway, as some people refer to it. I'm not going to be close to the bridge. I'm going to push my arm out a little bit towards the fingerboard, and that helps the sound just become a little bit more piano. So let's try those two things. We're going to push out towards the fingerboard, tilt our stick a little bit away from us, and we're going to try the first couple measures of that Tranquilo. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Throughout this Tranquilo section, you'll notice that we've got a lot of crescendo diminuendos, we've got some various dynamics. All of this is just to help support the phrasing. And you should also be working on vibrato. If you haven't already developed a vibrato or you're still working on it, you might want to check out my tutorial on vibrato. That could really help you out. I'll post it up above. So let's go back to that Tranquilo section in measure 60. And we're really going to work on using our long bows and our beautiful phrasing. So legato means that the bow should really never stop. So let's go to playing position. Tilt that bow hair away from you. Aim out towards the fingerboard a little bit. And let's try maybe just the first 2 phrases. 1, 2, ready, go. Crescendo, diminuendo, back to piano. to forte, pull in. Diminuendo. Back out towards the fingerboard. In towards the bridge. Which brings us to the Briante section, and that's a whole nother thing that we have to talk about. So hopefully that helps you with the phrasing. This piece is really great because we have these lyrical sections kind of interspersed with these more technical sections. So the next technical section that we have is this Briante section. Now we've had 16th notes in the previous piece in Suzuki Book 4, and this is a similar passage. We want to still be right in the middle of the bow. We don't want to use a lot of bow, so we want to use maybe like a handspan's worth of bow right in the middle. And the faster we go, the less bow we're going to use. So if I'm at a slow tempo, I would use more bow as opposed to a slightly faster tempo. If I use a lot of bow and tried to go faster tempo-wise at the same time, you can see it kind of sounds glassy, and it's not really there's no chord to the sound. So remember, faster means less bow, more concentrated bow. So now in the Briante section, we are going to really emphasize the notes, the direction of the notes that are slurred. So down, up, down, up. So we really want to feel the every other direction of that slur. So let's try that. This is a medium tempo. Up. And I want you just for right now, just for practicing, to really emphasize down, up, down, up. Bow on the string right in the middle. 1, 2, ready, go. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And then it just repeats, but at a lesser dynamic. So when we go faster, we really want to feel that in our arm, that every other beat is down or up. So let's try that a little bit faster. 1, 2, ready, go. Down, up, down, up. So hopefully that helps keep you in track. And in my brain, I'm really just saying down, up, down, up. If you remember back to book 1 in Suzuki, some teachers teach down, pony, up, pony. That's just this bowing with some extra notes added in. So down, pony, up, pony. So all those basics that we covered in book 1 really do appear in the later books as well. So now that we've gone through that Briante section, that starts in mezzo forte and then we repeat it in piano. So make sure that you're making that dynamic contrast. Remember, we're still in the middle of the bow, just a little bit more arm weight for the mezzo forte than we would for the piano. The next section that we come to has us changing strings pretty rapidly and also doing a little bit of spiccato. So this changing of strings rapidly is called Barriolage, and it's a technique that we're going to encounter in lots of pieces. Bach has a lot of this in his work, so when we work on books 5 and 6, we're going to encounter this again. So we're going to learn the solid technique to do it now so that when we encounter it later, it's not such a struggle. So instead of doing it as string crossings, I want us to practice it as double stops. So we're going to intersperse double stops. So we're going to put our bow on the A and the D string, and we're going to do 8 of those, and then we're going to change in between. Now when you're doing those changes, it should feel almost like you're whisking something. So your upper arm's not really going to be involved. Your lower arm is kind of involved, but it's mostly your wrist that's doing that whisking motion. So watch my wrist especially. I'm going to do the double stop version first, and then separate. So you'll notice that most of this up to here doesn't really move. It's just my wrist doing that little whisking motion. So let's try that together. Let's put our bow right in the middle. And remember, it's 8 together and then 8 separate with our whisked wrist. 1, 2, ready, go. Separate, together, mistakes that I see are that other parts of the arm are getting involved. If I start using too much of my arm for those string changes, you see it kind of looks hee-haw-y. There's just too much stuff going on. So we want to try to contain that motion as best as possible. Now, if you have aerobatic skills, if you can grab underneath your instrument and just grab right above where your wrist is, this can help isolate so that you feel what that whisking motion is. Better yet, you can put your instrument down and do the same thing. You can hold just right above your wrist and then just isolate. Just feel that motion, feel what it feels like. Grab a pencil, try it with a pencil in your hand, see what that motion feels like, and then come back to the instrument. So now that we've got the basic motion there, we're going to try to add the fingers in, and we're going to do this with double stops first. So I'm starting right in measure 87, and I'm going to play A and D together, and then F and A. So essentially I'm playing the first two notes together, the third and the fourth notes together. Let's try that together. Ready? Go. A and D, F and A, D and A, F and A, E and A, G and A, E and A, G and A. We talked about making a tunnel with your left hand. So if your fingers are on the flats, you're going to be hitting the A string and making a really weird sound. So you might need to bring your elbow underneath so that your fingers are on the fingertips. If they're flat, again, they're going to hit the A string. We don't want that. So let's try that again. We're playing double stops, and we'll go just a little bit faster. 1, 2, ready, go. If that's feeling solid, we're going to try that same tempo, but just with separate, so we're going to do the actual barriolage of changing the strings. And remember, we want to isolate that wrist, that whisking motion. Let's try it. 1, 2, ready, go. Now again, if that proves difficult, you're going to try a half measure. So we're going to do the D and the F version, stop and set, and then do the E and the G version. Again, stop, D and F, set, go. Once that feels comfortable, again, you can just play the whole measure, you can play both measures, whatever feels best to you. Again, we want to keep it simple and then add in complexity. Now in measure 89, we're actually going to play double stops the entire measure. So the A with the stem up indicates that we're going to hold that A for the whole beat. Same thing in the next beat. In addition to doing the double stops, we have slurs. So again, if you want to keep it simple, practice without the slur. When that's comfortable, add your slur back in. This is that contrasting down, pony, up, pony, down, pony, up, pony. It's that same bowing. We're just adding a level of complexity with the A sustained as a double stop. The last thing I want to go over today is the last two measures. We've got a series of double stops and a chord on that last note. So instead of going crazy and just practicing it at tempo, we're going to go very slow, and we're going to make sure that our left hand notes are set before our bow moves. So let's play that first open D. Set your 3 on the A string. Set, 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 set. And then my 1 has to cover the bottom 2 strings. And my preference for chords is that we are always playing 2 notes and 2 notes. It gives us a nice full sound for the chord. So let's try that one more time. We're going to do 2 notes and stop. So I'm setting D and 3rd finger, D. Now I'm setting both of my 1s. Ds, 1s, 1s. Once that feels comfortable, obviously you can make it 2 beats at a time that you play. Set, go. Set, go. The important thing to remember in this passage is that your left hand precedes your bow. If my left hand's not set, I'm obviously going to get a different note and I'm not going to play the note that's indicated for that double stop. I really hope you found this tutorial useful. If there's other spots in this that you're having trouble with, please comment below. I really like reading your comments and offering help from afar. Thank you so much for joining me today. Happy practicing!